Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Sci-Fi Queens podcast, where we celebrate all things sci-fi, especially the women in sci-fi and real female scientists and upcoming young girls as well, and sci-fi book authors. If you are new here, we welcome you and we ask that you hit that subscribe and notification bell. We would appreciate it. It will help our channel grow and let you know when our next episode is happening. If you want to support our channel, we ask that you check out our website that's scrolling at the bottom of the screen, which is simple, sci-fi queens.net, where you will find information on the queens. You will find information on our episodes as well as our merch store will be linked there. I am your host, Nita, and with me tonight is the Queen of Darkness, Sarah. And a little bit later, the Queen of the Nerds, Tiffany, will be coming on. She's a little bit behind today, but it's been one of those days for sure.
Yes.
So before we move on, Sarah, how are you doing?
I'm okay right now. And I'll be kid free tonight, so I get to relax after this. Woohoo!
Yes, excellent, excellent.
How about
That's
you, Nita?
great. It's a beautiful day today. I had off today. I'm really grateful for that. That I'm now off on Fridays. It was a pretty rocky start of the day, but had some few issues that I had to fix and take care of. But it's been dealt with, and I'm grateful for that.
That's
But I'm
good.
very excited about tonight because tonight we are going to be doing a review of the sci-fi movie called Light. And you can watch that free on Tubi. I'm going to give you guys a synopsis before we begin anything. So Light is a movie about survivors of an interstellar transport ship that crashed, and they band together to fight the monstrous host on the inhospitable planet that they find themselves on. This was one of the most interesting movies I gotta say that I've watched. It was really all female. Like there was the
Yeah.
voice of a man, but that's about it. You never really saw
Yeah.
him. And there was a little boy at towards the end,
Yeah.
kind of like the middle towards the end. But it was very female-led sci-fi.
Hmm.
So Sarah, let's start with you. Let's start you telling us because you choose our movies, you do better job than we make any contribution whatsoever. This is a fact of life.
Anyway. Yes.
So,
Yes.
what led you to choose this particular movie?
Well, I thought, I always check. I like to check the streaming services that are free so our viewers can watch too. And I went to Tubi and I found this one, and it seemed to be female led. So that was, I mean, it sounded interesting. It's female led. I mean, I'll watch anything, but like I was like, oh, this one sounds interesting. Let's do this one. And I'm gonna say I wasn't disappointed, but it did make you go, huh, a lot.
Yes,
Man, huh.
yes. It's one of those movies that you can't judge by its beginnings. You
Oh no, and
truly have
you gotta
to,
pay attention
yes.
the whole movie, or you're gonna miss something.
Yes, you
Uh,
do. And I do suggest even watching twice because that's what I did.
yeah.
Because the first time I watched that was like, what's happening? Like it didn't click for me, but because
Mhm.
I'm impatient, right? So the beginning, it's not that it's slow because it really starts off with a bang,
Yeah.
but you don't know what's happening. It's so she's in this suit, she crash lands and she's walking around. You don't see the planet. The planet is so desolate, so inhospitable,
And
um,
dark and
dark,
mysterious,
and you
foggy
don't want to
like.
go towards the light. This is the opposite. You don't
Yeah.
want to go towards the light. There was a
No.
light issue in this whole entire movie.
Yeah. So like
It definitely was.
at first it kind of gave me pitch black vibes, you know,
Yes, it did.
where the crew crashes and they got to survive and they got to wait for rescue and all that. It had that kind of vibe, but then it was like there was a more sinister undertone. Now, let me ask you this: did you figure out what the people in black were doing?
They were feeding the monsters.
People,
Yeah,
because
they were feeding the monsters people.
yes, so that special jewel that she found in the monster poop, she's like, what is it? What it is when the bones get stuck in the creature's digestive system because they can't break them down, they coat them with a pearl-like coating, like an oyster does with a pearl, and then when it
Hmm.
plops out, it's this beautiful gemstone, and it goes for millions of dollars. So I mean, it almost kind of had that in that aspect, it has that Avatar vibe to it too.
Yes,
Because they were mining for something. You know what I mean? I know you know what I mean. And it was just like,
exactly.
huh. And
Yeah.
I still don't know.
It's definitely almost a psychological sci-fi thriller.
Yeah,
Because, and there's that element again, we've spoken about this before here, of the unknown horror, that unknown scary,
yeah.
that scary monster that you can identify, that you don't really know anything about, but you know it's dangerous, you know that it's out to get you. And it had
hmm
that fever, it had all of that. I thought it was excellent.
So let me tell you this. You want to hear a big bombshell? This budget had $0. They made this movie on their own. The writer and producer, the writer, director, producer, he and his friends got whatever they could scrape together, made the props themselves, did the VX, did all the stuff themselves. It's like when you go back and look at it in that light, it's like, holy cow, this is a really good movie for no budget.
Yes, for no budget.
Um, yeah, and then
And I
then
don't
there's
think there was a famous actor in this
mm-mm.
movie. None of these actors, the actresses, well, the two main actresses that you see, because you only see two women,
Right, and then
and
my
you
thought
hear the
was,
voice of a man, and then there's
yeah,
this little boy eventually. None of them I recognize. And I looked
right.
them up and I Googled them and I did not recognize them.
Yeah, they were just I don't know if they just like did a casting call and like, come on, let's do this, or ask their friends, or I don't know how it worked, but I thought that was kind of neat, and I was like, um, and then I did have the thought when we were watching it that I think that they only had one suit and that they filmed each character and then cut it all together, and
No.
and then, well, think about it. Whenever they're never in a scene together. They're always
That's
like
true.
looking across the pod, or they're all solo. And then you could always tell the difference between the suits because um, the girl that got away, the employee or whatever, she had like a splatter on her mask, and
Yes.
and the other one didn't. So I was like, because I was looking like maybe it's a you know. Me doing my nitpicking. I'm like, wait a minute here.
Yeah. But I
Well,
think
and
that
like,
you see, that's ingenuity. I think that, invention is necessity is the mother of invention. Okay.
yeah,
And I think that in this case, that saying is very true. There was
yeah,
no budget. They probably got things from like thrift shops and things like that and
yep.
created their own cosplay, so to speak. And
The oxygen bottles were
yeah.
water bottles. I've had those water bottles before. They're like,
I I've seen them. And I said, wait, is Talon's like water? Is she breathing water? What's happening? And then I
but it
realized,
says
oh, they're
oxygen.
using, and then I realized, oh, it's this oxygen. They're
It had like a
using them
label
as,
maker label. Somebody
but
took a
that
label
doesn't,
maker.
but guys, it doesn't make the movie bad though.
No, it was
These
good.
things were so ingenious, and it really lets
Mhm.
you know that if you have a desire to create a movie, don't
You can
worry
go ahead
about
and do
budget. Do it. You just may have to make some adjustments.
it. I was sad for her that her little boy wasn't the little boy, that the little boy that was there wasn't her little
How
boy.
disappointing was that?
Because like
I
she's been
mean, this
chasing her
whole
little boy.
movie was about trying to find him.
Yeah, and then it's a little boy, but it's not your little boy. And like, what the fuck?
Do you think those people in the black mask fed the little boy to the monsters?
Oh yeah, they wrapped him in Christmas lights at the very
I know
end.
the man wrapped the other one in Christmas.
Yeah,
He
because
looked
that
like a
because
little tree.
the monsters were attracted to light, so they would actually wrap them in Christmas lights and then plug them into their suits so that you
Yeah.
couldn't get away from it. And it was like
And what was her name? Tilly? Something like that? The
Tally.
corporate Tally.
Yeah, she actually
She
was.
totally got me. I thought she was genuine. I
Yeah.
thought she was really lost and genuine, and she was not. She was the villain. The
Well, and
monsters were acting on instinct. She
I
was
don't
making
think
choices.
I knew she was a part of it, but I don't think that she even knew how much of a part of it she was until she found. So the thing that she found that we don't actually see, but we get to see it in her bag, that big nodule that she had, it was a skull, and why that's how she figured it out, and that's why she's like, don't talk to them. And she was telling Nui, I think that's her name, telling
Yes.
her not to tell the rescue ship anything because they weren't the rescue ship. They were like the farm ship, and
Yeah.
they can because they can shoot down as many ships as they want, and then they go back and harvest later, and like, oh no,
Exactly.
it was an accident, and nobody's gonna research too much because oh no, a ship crashed. Oh no, that it's not like
But you know what this reminds me of?
uh-oh.
Star Trek Strange New World, the episode where they take the little children and they put them in that machine in order to have the world that they do. And they
Hmm.
think that by worshiping the child and honoring the child, it's okay that you murdered this child. No, nothing you're doing is okay. And I think
Right.
that they were giving the children because they were easy prey. Just wrap some lights around them. They're not going to fight as hard. They're not going to be, creative about escape.
Right.
It's
You
dark.
know,
They don't know where to go. And they are feeding these children and other people, I'm sure,
yeah.
you
Well,
know,
colonists,
to the
colonists,
monster, the
sorry.
colonists, in
Yeah.
order for this other group to survive. That's all that's about.
Yeah, to make money. It was
Yeah.
all about the money. It's all about the
Yeah.
Benjamins.
I think that there is a social message in
Yeah,
this movie. If you
there is.
really think
And
about it. Yeah, absolutely.
that money
Yeah,
is the
there's
root of all evil. Because, like,
yes.
whoa.
Yeah. And let me
Whoa.
sacrifice good, hardworking people
Yeah.
just for the status
Hmm.
quo for the dollar. And that's basically what they were doing because they were a corporation. They were
Hmm.
operating, and she told her, I'm a businesswoman.
Yeah.
That's all I am, and she was basically saying, I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
okay, you don't
But then,
care, but the
and
rest
then
of us be caring.
Tally tried to do the right thing at the end, and she still, this, the boss was like, told the guys in black they can have the kid, and he's just gonna take the employee back, and like, what?
Yes. And the
It was
guys in
like,
black, didn't they look like the tar that killed Tasha Yar in Star Trek
yeah,
The
a little
Next
bit.
Generation?
And then, okay, so there was a lot of Easter eggs in this.
Yes. Talk to me about these Easter eggs.
Okay, so the first one I saw was they had the same sensor, the proximity sensor as Alien.
Yes. Agreed.
Alien
I saw
2.
that.
Yeah, Alien 2, the ones that were on their guns and they're like boop boop boop. Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute. And then at one point, the man that was talking, he said, "Are you my mummy?" Did you hear? I don't know if you heard that, but it was when he was talking to
Yes.
Sally. He's like, "Are you my mummy?" And it was like, wait a minute, did that just happen?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I think that this was a geek movie made by geeks.
Oh, this was all the way a geek movie by sci-fi nerds who
Mhm,
wanted to make something happen for themselves. Now,
mhm,
we're gonna just have pause for a second. Tiffany's having a little internet issue, so she's not gonna be able
mhm.
to join us, but
But she's in the comments.
She is able to be in the comments, and we're just gonna put her comment up. Yes, I knew it looked familiar.
Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah,
But in our next episode, Tiffany will be with us and she's going to give us her segment, but we're going to skip her segment tonight because that's all her. And I don't,
yeah.
I can't deliver like she can. She's too good.
No.
She's too good. And she really is. What she's watching, guys, you gotta watch. So pay attention to her. But let's get back to this movie.
Yeah.
What other Easter eggs did you notice?
Um, I the monsters when they were lit up, they looked like neon octopuses or squid kind of, and I was like, and they were in like flying around in the sky, putting off light while they were doing their mating dance, and I'm like, what in the fuck?
And you could see, but not really see them, which
Yeah,
was
and then it came
so
down. Yeah,
interesting. Yes.
yeah, and it just I think that I think it was, and I think they did good with keeping the monsters off screen until the end because I think that
Yes.
makes it scarier because you don't know what's lurking in the mist. You
But
don't know
it's
what's out
back
there.
to that whole not knowing fear.
Hmm.
So that's what makes it for me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what makes it a psychological thriller,
Yes.
sci-fi thriller, because it's playing with your sense of fear,
Yep.
you know? And I think it had a little bit of Star Trek Voyager, the episode where Janeway had to conquer fear,
Yeah.
um and the people were dying, and they were dying of literal fear because they were trapped in this alternate reality, in their minds, and that and they had to conquer their fears. These two women walking in the dark,
Mhm.
not being able to use their lights because of these
Yeah.
monsters, not having to use their other senses, was really interesting. I thought that was fun. I enjoyed the movie. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I'm not sure that I watched it 100 times, but I would watch it again.
Yeah, I watched it twice because I felt like the first time I was like left with questions, and I said, "Well, am I missing something?" And so I wanted to watch it again to make sure that I fully understood the message. And I think that there was a deep message there for sure. And
Yeah.
Tiffany gave us her score. She said
Seven
she
out of
gave it a 7 out of 10. I'm with Tiffany. I'm giving
yeah.
it a 7 out of 10 for sure as
Yeah,
well.
it wasn't fabulous, but it wasn't Aniara bad.
Exactly. Yes. And it really wasn't bad. I think that they did and the acting was very well. Very, very,
Yes.
very well done. I think that these actors, although not famous, really have the potential for acting because they really had no one to feed off of. When you're acting, you're on stage or you're performing. I sing, so I've done performances, and you really do need to feed off either the audience or your partner that you're singing with. And the
Mhm.
same thing goes with acting. You feed off of one another, and it's
Yeah.
really difficult to do alone. And I think that they did a really good job. What do you think?
Yeah. I think so too. For how low budget it was, I think that they filmed one character at a time, and then they
Hmm.
did all the parts of this character and all the parts of this character, and then pieced it all together, and then went from there. Um, like I really think they only have one suit, but that's okay.
Exactly.
Because it works. Whatever works for your budget, you make it work. Um, and that I mean, I remember at the beginning the man saying, "Here, draw a star on your mask or whatever," trying to calm the kid down. Because I thought he was talking to Tally. Because I was like, "What?" And, that was something. And I thought it was, and I thought it was her boy, but it's not. It's this other boy, Isaac, and it's just like, oh, what? And it's just, it kind of, it sucks being a mom. It sucks because then, like, I know that fear. Leah's gotten lost a couple times, and
Yeah.
I mean, she did what she was supposed to do. She found a person of authority and got back to me. But while she was lost, that panic and that fear and that trying to find her, I know that feeling. So it's like your heart's racing and you can't figure
Yeah.
anything out, and it's like you can't even think straight because all you want to do is find your kid, and like your safety doesn't matter and nobody else matters. You need to
Yeah.
find your
And
kid.
she was very panicked, but at the same time trying to be in some sort of control so that she can find her son. And one thing about this movie that you guys should know is it was also directed by a woman. Her name is, and forgive me, please, if I mispronounce her name, Inari. Her last name is Niemi. Um, I don't know too much about her background, but it was directed by a woman. I like that idea,
Mhm.
that it was directed by a woman, and that it really was about the struggle of women
Mhm.
to stay ahead, the balancing of motherhood and trying to give your child the best life that you could possibly
And then
give
on
it.
the flip side, there was the single woman too, just trying to get by and not getting weighed down by kids and
Yes.
career and all that stuff. And not career, but you know what I mean, kids and relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
that's who I saw Tally as. Is she was this, you know, single person that didn't have a lot of attachment. And I also kind of felt that there was like a little bit of, I don't know how to explain this, but it was like the way Nui and her son, how she had their IDs like strapped to her belly. I thought that was kind of weird. Like
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
that's what people who are doing something not quite above board do. So I was wondering, and then like Tally said at the end too, she says to the boss, she said, calls the rescue ship and says, I'm a citizen, a real citizen. Here's my ID number. And it was like, wait a minute.
that
So
was really interesting. Her specific words, I'm a real citizen.
yeah, not one of these pretend citizens that are going to be a colonist or whatever. Like,
Exactly. She wanted to make sure they knew she was not a colonist.
yeah, I was like, wait, what? And that's where it got like,
Hmm.
and it comes back to that, I mean, she's got to do what she's got to do to survive, but also at what cost? And I think that was the deeper message in this is that is surviving at any cost worth it if you give up your soul?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, she lost her father in this process, or at least that's the impression that you got. Because at
yeah,
first I was like, oh, she really lost her dad. But then I wondered, did she lose her father? Or was that some sort of staged incident to gain her sympathy? Like, what do you
right.
think?
I think it was. I really don't know. I mean, when she found the perla, it was like an honest like revelation. Like she actually didn't know, and then because she's like, wait, what? And then she's like, these are piles of shit. Let me dig through it.
Exactly.
And then she found the rare gemstones, and she's like, wait, and she was talking about her dad. But so I think that was true, but I don't think she was trying to use it maliciously. I think it's just something that slipped out in this situation.
Hmm.
Like
Agreed.
when she lured her to the empty pod, to take her oxygen. Like
What was that about, really?
survival, I guess, but it didn't really make a difference. So, oh,
Yeah, I was very curious about that. Like, you know, clearly he's part of the corporation and the whole situation there. And you
yeah,
send your daughter out in this dangerous mission. You would think that she would have a better position because even the other lady kind of sort of found her out. She was like, with your accent, you're not really a colonist. Like she knew, like she wasn't being fooled by her.
yeah. She's like, wait, this isn't right. I don't like
Mm-hmm.
this. You know, when you get that uncanny valley feeling and you're like, hey, something ain't right here. And
Exactly.
just it kind of
Exactly.
it messed with my head. I'm sorry.
Yes. I mean, so how would you rate, like, Tiffany rates a 7 out of 10. I rated a 7 out of 10. What do you rate this movie?
I think that for what they were trying to do, like Tiffany said, I think that that's a good rating. Um, with zero budget, I think they did fabulous.
They
I
did a
still
good
think
job.
that there's some questions left unanswered that
But that could be a budget issue. That could just be we couldn't afford to continue to
add stuff into the story to expand on it.
because
Yeah,
the movie is only about an hour and a half, and most movies
yeah,
are about 2 hours. So
yeah.
they,
So I might have been in that extra 30 minutes. We could have got a little bit more.
ex- exactly. Like I would have liked to know what happens once, like at the end when they go in, what happens to her now that she's in.
Yeah, and like, where did she go from? Did she just go back to work? Go back to being a pilot? Like,
Yeah.
for this bullshit or what? Like,
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. I'm with you, Cheech. I'm with you.
yes, this is yeah.
Yeah, I would have liked that. But that's the only criticism I would say about the movie. I think that there's a great movie. I think that the director did a really fantastic job.
Mhm.
And I really couldn't find much on the director that in English. I don't know where is she from, but most of the stuff was in a foreign language, so I didn't know much about. I couldn't find her, but I know that there's a woman director, and I really think that this is about the plight of women. Because sci-fi is always about something other than science fiction. They use
Yeah.
science fictions to promote something that's going on, which I absolutely love. And I think that this movie was really about the plight of female struggle. And here we have, these two women. One was a mom searching for her child, and here's this other corporate hottie that, she's just all about the corporation and the numbers and the money and the status quo, and how they maneuver that, and the sacrifices they each had to make to get to where
To
they
get
are.
there.
Because the mom was doing something, like you say, not so above board. She
Yeah.
did whatever she needed to do to get to where she was at to protect her child.
Yeah.
You can't blame her for that, right?
Right.
Um, but then you have the other one who is probably doing exactly what she's expected to do, and it's awful. It's
Yeah.
awful what's expected of her. It's absolutely
Yeah.
awful. Yeah.
Well, it's like I just don't. It's like so like especially when she found that other pod and she's like, this pod isn't from our ship. Like, wait, what? And oh,
Exactly.
they've been crashing here. Oh well, then why do they keep sending people here to mine the planet? Well, they're not sending them here to mine. They're sending them here to
Exactly.
die. And
Yeah. But here's the
it
thing.
but
Why are they there to begin with that they need to send people to feed to these monsters in order to protect them? What are they doing? That's what I would have liked to know more about.
I think what probably originally happened is somebody crashed there at some point. And by the time rescue got there to get them, they found this gem and
Yes.
the perla, and then you know when they're doing their research before they start selling it, they figured out what it was, that it's human bone coated in stuff. And it's just they're like, okay, well, if it's human bone, then let's just keep feeding them humans and we can get more. And it's
Exactly. I
and
mean, the things people would do
for money. Yep.
to get gems. I mean, it's like the black diamonds, or what's that diamond in Africa that,
The blood diamonds.
the blood diamonds that they use, child labor, slavery. They do all these awful things,
Yeah.
but they sell them, and the people, the powers that be, are making money off of the sweat and horrible treatment of others.
Yeah.
And this is definitely an example of that. Definitely an
And I
example.
think that's also maybe something that they were trying to point out, that,
Yeah.
you know, that was another societal like flaw, you know,
Hmm.
that it is that is that it's evil, and that, it doesn't matter how pretty it is, like what's the cost though? I mean, oh yeah, you have these pretty gems, but like what did it cost you? You know, um and that's a trope that we get in sci-fi a
Yeah,
lot, is well, in fiction in general, is that,
exactly.
if you want to get ahead, you have to give something of yourself, and
Hmm.
sometimes
Sometimes
it's
it's your very
not.
soul.
You're right, and that's exactly it. It's that you trade in your soul to get ahead, and is it really worth it? I mean,
Exactly. Exactly. But I mean, I think
mhm,
that we all basically enjoyed the movie.
mhm.
I don't know if Tiffany's still in the comment section and she wants to write down her thoughts, about the movie or not. But it will be great to hear
Yeah,
from Tiffany. It's okay if you can't, because I know typing all of your thoughts sometimes can be daunting. But yeah, I mean, this was definitely an interesting movie. I liked it. I think it was a good pick. I think that people should watch it. In the beginning, it's like, it starts off strong with the action, but you don't know what's happening too quickly and what's going on,
yeah.
but you have to give the movie a chance. It's not something that's going to be all revealing at once. I think it's fantastic. And in a podcast like ours, that we promote females, that we promote women in science fiction and in science, this is really a movie right up our
All
niche. Yeah,
right. I
absolutely.
did good.
You did
I
good,
did
girl.
good.
You did well, very, very well. But we're
Yay.
going to actually move on to the real science queens. And that will be, we have a very special presentation
Yes.
from Sarah today. It's going to be quite interesting, and I know you guys are going to enjoy it. Take
All
it
right.
away, Sarah.
All right. In the heart of Mississippi's Gulf Coast, a young visionary is making significant strides in marine conservation that could change the fate of the region's oyster reefs. Demi Johnson, a 10th grader with a passion for the environment, has caught the eye of the National Geographic Society and sparked uh, a conversation about sustainable practices. Her journey from a local student to a nationally recognized conservationist is not just inspiring, it's a beacon of hope for ecological restoration efforts across the country. The oyster gardening project that helped her earn her Girl Scout Silver Award also landed her in the top 15 finalists of the National Geographic Slingshot Challenge, which seeks ideas from 13 to 18-year-olds for solving environmental issues. Her 1 minute video about the project won the challenge's Significant Achievement Award for her project, Off Bottom Oysters. She also received $1,000 to support her oyster garden and an invitation to the National Geographic Explorers Festival in Washington, D.C. Demi is also a Harrison County 4-H'er where she volunteers with the Boys and Girls Clubs, the Mississippi Coastal Cleanup Program, Feed My Sheep Food Pantry, community cleanups, and other 4-H clubs. 4-H is different than Girl Scouts, Demi explains. It can connect with different ages and interact with both girls and boys, which is a different dynamic that I like. So she's in both clubs. Johnson began her oyster farming project at Schooner Pier in Biloxi in the 7th grade, maintaining the farm with help from the Department of Marine Resources. She visits her 5 oyster cages once a week to clean them out and remove any predators, like crabs and fish, that can destroy them. Her efforts from September 2022 through March 2023 resulted in over 1,000 oysters, with her site expected to spawn millions of larvae into the ecosystem for restoration efforts. She said, I didn't really know anything about oysters when I started the project. I didn't know they were endangered. I just thought that they were on people's plates. Johnson, I thought it
He's
was funny.
adorable. I
She's a
love it.
kid. I mean, she's
Yeah.
definitely a kid. Johnson's project has advanced local ecological efforts and spearheaded a community education program to create oyster gardens and restore Mississippi's threatened oyster reefs. Because her project was so successful, Demi was invited to enroll in the Master Oyster Gardening Program, which certifies volunteers to do advanced oyster restoration work. She's the program's first youth participant. And
Wow.
she's not technically a scientist yet, but she's up and coming, and I think she's going to make something of herself. So we need to keep our eye on
Absolutely.
her.
And absolutely. And, we need to encourage these young girls that are
Hmm.
doing things that are science
Hmm.
to continue because, you know, in her volunteer work, she learned things about oysters she didn't know before. And,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. You have a daughter in a STEAM school, so you
Yes.
know the importance and how much it gives to these children.
Yes, and Leah's doing so well in school, and they did a presentation today, and they've been they've been having a good. She's really enjoying school. She's got all A's and B's this year, so she's really doing good with school, and she really likes the school. The smaller class sizes, the hands-on learning. There's more hands-on stuff. So not only do they, decide that they have to work on a project, but they have to do some form of art for that project. They can't just like, okay, here's our little sketch. Like they actually have to either like
Exactly.
produce something or do an actually nice, you know what I mean, nice presentation. Um,
Yeah.
so in that effect, I think they're a little more advanced, and I think she's doing good. I mean, she's only in sixth
Yeah.
grade, but she's
Yeah.
doing projects and stuff that would
But
be in
this
high
this
school, I
young
think.
lady, like your daughter,
Yeah,
is an example of what these schools do and what they can end up accomplishing. I
yeah,
think we definitely need to keep our eye on this young lady because I think
yes,
that, in a few years, we might be talking about her again here.
yep, I think so
You know,
too.
because
She
she's
might
in
be a
10th
marine
grade.
biologist. Yeah,
She's in 10th grade. She's only got a couple of more years of high school and then she's
yeah,
off to college.
right. And she started this when she was in the seventh grade, so that's only a year higher than Leah. Like, dang,
Yeah.
girl, get it.
Absolutely. Yes. We are going to move on to our next segment. What I've decided to do is alternate between podcast recommendation and book recommendation, giving me more time to read the books that I'm reading and actually devote some time in researching podcasts because I don't just recommend the podcast, I watch a few of the episodes of each of these podcasts. So
Yes.
tonight we are going to be doing some podcast recommendation. All right. So for the first podcast recommendation is something near and dear to me. It's called the Science Fiction Review Podcast. And you can find them on youtube.com uh, at science fiction book review PO6143. They review science fiction books. And I love that, because I always want more inspiration on finding new books and new literature to read so that I can recommend them. And they are just fantastic. They're uh, I don't know if they're a couple or not, but it's a man and a woman doing it, and they do a really wonderful job on reviewing these books. And we also have Clone Star Podcast. They discuss all things in the Star Trek universe, and they just did an episode that talked about the women in Star Trek Voyager, and they did a
Ooh,
fantastic job on it. So good. This podcast is so good, guys. Definitely recommend that you go check it out because it is really, 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 really good. I love these podcasts. They are just wonderful. And I'm enjoying listening to them, and I want you to enjoy them as well. Now we're getting to the end of our show. I don't know if Sarah wants to say something before we
Oh,
announce our next episode.
it's just been a day. I think you, me, and Tiffany need to just decompress.
Yes, we do.
We love
Which
you,
is what
Tiffany. We miss you.
we miss you, girl. It has been a day for all of us. We each didn't know how much we could take today.
Hmm.
But we're here and we're enjoying your company, and we hope you enjoyed ours. Our next episode is going to be something a little bit different. Let's talk about time travel in science fiction. And it's going to be April 4th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, so we're going to talk about all of this, a few science fiction movies, shows that talk about time travel, that have done time traveling, and see how time travel really has, is it positive, is it negative, the pros and cons of time travel in science fiction. That is always going to be so much fun. But thank you guys for joining us tonight, for being here, for listening. Tiffany, we miss you, and we hope to see you next in our next episode. Sarah, thank you so much for this selection. It was actually very good,
I'm
as
glad.
always. So this is why we leave the movies to you. We don't want to make any input. Um, but we will see you guys on April 4th. Good night and have a
Bye.
wonderful day. Thank you for watching the Sci-Fi Queens, and be sure to support us on all our social medias and check out our website